So this is 2016 Proximity. It was first built and created in 2012 with Rodney in the middle of the spiral. And this year we have Rodney and Susi, at separate times obviously, giving solo performances in the centre of the Proximity Spiral. The Proximity Spiral is all about siphoning off people from the outside world, drawing them into the centre of this very close space where they come into great proximity with the person that's performing for them. They truly engage with the sound, hopefully, and they come away, as in with a classical labyrinth shape, with a slightly different sensation on the way out than what they had when they came in. Often the experience is unexpected, and people don't realise that there's going to be a live performer in the centre, so it can be a surprise, but that also makes it even more visceral, even more exciting, hopefully. So I wondered if maybe, Rodney, you wanted to speak about your previous experiences of being in the centre of the spiral in 2012?
Well, no, I mean, the very first time that I did this, it was, for me, it was a tiring experience, actually, because having to judge how many times I sing this kind of, what would you call it? Would you call it a little, it's not a performance, it's not a, it's more like an engagement or like an interaction. Yeah. And I was just saying, I mean, when I actually experienced Susi doing it, I felt a great sense of duty being a singer, a fellow singer, but actually very soon it was like, actually I need to engage with this, and I actually relaxed. I mean, due to her kind of skills as a performer herself, but she kind of, the eyes. Yeah. It's all about the eyes. When you engage with the eyes, it kind of allowed us to come in, and it was a very moving and a very visceral experience.
It's really quite bonding. And also with people that kind of came out today, they were saying how they never get that close to a person singing, whereas you two will in your professional careers. Opera, you will be singing face to face. You're used to these sounds, these processes. Suddenly, people come in and hear the processes of a voice engaging and sort of getting into action, and it's a completely different experience from being on stage and it filtering to you across this void. It's the same void. It's just when it's shrunk to that minutiae, it becomes a totally different experience. It's what we're always aiming for, to really engage with our audience, with our person who's receiving what we're giving. But it's sort of, everything becomes heightened, I think. It's really interesting.
I mean, it's a very personal one-to-one experience, and almost as like a private viewing, a private showing. And I mean, for me personally, at times it became a little bit kind of verging on the intimate. It was very kind of like,
it is in the intimate space.
Yeah,
sphere.
I mean, you there's one lady this evening who kind of gave quite an audible gasp, and was kind of visually moved, and by the whole experience. And so you for us as singers, you get a unique opportunity to kind of actually gauge how an individual audience member may feel, because when we're standing on the stage, we just see.
This has come into actually with the research that this is kind of part of the creative practice research that I'm doing now. This kind of feedback loop. As soon as you hit the other person, there's something sparks, and whatever they give, you respond to. And because it's not a set score, I know that you have things that I want you to sing, or things I want you to do, or things that you want to do that will come out every single time. That happens, yes, but it's very free. So then you can respond to whoever comes at you, and this feedback loop happens, where it's constantly shifting, constantly like you're both part of the performance, you're both dynamic entities in it. There's not one person who's passive and one person who's giving. It's kind of happening somewhere in the middle.
Literally for me, having somebody so close, because I mean we're used to having an audience, at least I think 3 or 4 feet away. I mean certainly not as close as this, and it made me look in a different way into their face, and you kind of see a completely every minutiae of the eye and of the eyelids, and how they're responding with every single movement and kind of vibration of the sound, particularly on things that were kind of voice consonants and things that perhaps in life people don't use. So
It's like this. I don't know if anyone knows the childhood game Cat's Cradle.
Yes.
It's like you both have to be part of that game. You both have to invest in it, and there's this kind of identification that happens when you're inside there. I think it does happen in every situation, every performance situation. It's just suddenly gets elevated to this really intense experience.
Well, the thing is, I mean, as soon as you have your next victim, as it were, and they come, you have that kind of 2 or 3 seconds where there's that sense of unease and where to stand and what to do, and quite often they kind of smile, grimace, and burst into laughter. But then very quickly, but very quickly, the game begins in a way as to kind of, okay, you've invested time, so I'm going to invest time, and then very slowly, as you mentioned in your opening, it becomes this almost kind of symbiosis of two people sharing this kind of really deep emotion and sense of vibrations as well, because ultimately, yes, we are giving vignettes of songs and so forth, but actually this time round it was more, I was able to kind of focus on the sound of a human voice, the sound and the vibrations that it makes, and I even played with that in a tessitura of my voice, and even just using my brain to actually think about the plate of the chest, the sound coming from there, and watching that have this kind of feeling.
Yeah, visible effect.
Yes, yeah, and it's almost like a visual kind of sound dart, or a kind of when you're kind of singing and you feel the vibration leave your body and then travel towards this person. You can see as you crescendo on a particular sound, the wave of sound hitting them and their reaction to it. And I mean, obviously we never physically touch the person inside, but it's almost more central to their soul in a way, experiencing the sound wave through them, and then you get this other feeling back. It's very exciting.
What's interesting is one person's. I mean, we're creating the sound and they're receiving the sound, and yet actually we're both the one common denominator is we're both vibrating and end up vibrating in the same way
Together,
together, and that's really, and that's when the grimaces of the eye or like a tear starts to come, or then you really feel the entire two people's bodies.
And the results become
just the feeling of the soul as well, just that communication.
Yeah, which is what's part of performance always, I think, anyway. That's kind of the basis, the urge, is to give something, to express something that you want somebody else to recognise. It's kind of acknowledgement, and that acknowledgement goes round and round in a little circle. It was interesting how you said you sat there and you could feel, you would kind of gauge people as they came, the way they were walking, or as they passed through the slits that are around you, and how you could sense maybe this person is slightly more nervous, or this person is really eager, and you'd gauge your performance for that. Again, this kind of feedback loop.
Yeah, I mean, it's just this. I don't know whether it's whether it has anything physically to do with the spiral itself, but I mean, as somebody gets closer and closer, me personally, I'm very kind of in touch and very kind of I can feel people's energy and so forth, and so I gauge my choice of opening, of not repertoire. And I hate using that word. My choice of I don't know what you call it. According to the energy coming round, there was one lady who came around, and I could feel that she was approaching with a sense of, it wasn't trepidation, it was slight anxiety, but she was still calm, if that's possible. And then she came, so I decided, how can I best reflect? And so this is the thing, that it was my duty to allow her natural feelings to continue, but through me and then back to her. So it's very kind of, very.
I like the symbiotic
relationship.
That's interesting.
And others would kind of bound in, slightly confidently, and I was like, okay, fine, right.
Yes. Straight in to autism mode.
Well, I heard you go very loud at some points, so suddenly, which was really interesting.
I tried to start quite gently, and again, very similar from what Rodney was just saying there. When you sense somebody's one lady who took a very long time to get to the centre, and I started very gently, but then her face relaxed, and she looked so open and so playful with her song. I thought, okay, you're ready for a little bit of playing. Then I just suddenly kind of out of nowhere thought, just give her a full kind of excitement blast, fortissimo kind of, and play about a bit. But again, it's feeding off the energy and kind of trying to make them, for me, to feel more positive within the space. It felt almost womb-like, a returning back to kind of the central energy, a kind of creation space. So I tried to put in a lot of lullabies and words, and lots of different words for mother in different languages to try and it was interesting because one lady was German and saying words to her and singing to her in German made her look quite teary, and that this kind of maternal nature. But some people, it seemed to be better to try more playful excitement and have lots of more kind of colouratory, more sudden kind of sounds. And they seem to need it at that moment within themselves.
It's interesting, I remember as well, because you're saying this womb-like sort of a gentle sort of nurturing space.
Like a hug.
It's sort of it's very enclosed, as we know, and you can't see anything else, but it's just the people there. And I remember you saying you felt a little like it was a sort of, you felt a bit like a priest, kind of.
Yeah, I mean,
and
that's almost what it kind of inspired me to begin my little the kind of two minute experience with some chant, very basic, very plain chant, very but something that kind of reflected the space that I was in, and almost for me personally, hearing chant calmed me down. Has always calmed me down. I love the Gregorian chant, and so it's but when I revisiting the space, when I was kind of installed in it again, it was like, oh, I'm home again. It's like, oh, hello.
Yeah.
It's really lovely. It's nice.
It could be something else entirely, but I think the fact it's quite bright, and you have time to get used to walking, I think, as well. You're not straight in, because my initial idea was not even to have a spiral at all. It was literally just to step into a very small space with another person. But this kind of eases people into the engagement that's going to happen in the centre.
The journey in is great because it gives you time to forget the outside world.
Yeah, people say it falls away.
You kind of shed everything that's been happening throughout the day or whatever, and then you are.
They are, yes. And some people kind of just sort of came so slowly, and you could see, because we just see just a very tiny glimpse of them before they arrive, and you can see their pace change with some of them, just how they start walking, and then they become more relaxed, and then there's perhaps an uncertainty because you don't know what's waiting for you. But it's just that different pace of journey, and then you finally see this face, which is this amazing thing, because you always, as waiting in the centre, you have a vision of who it is that is going to turn up, and then it's always a surprise. It's a surprise, a surprise for us every time, which is a real kind of jewel-like, kind of almost like a little gift. The surprise of somebody different each time to communicate with you. Just it's a wonderful thing, almost like a surprise for a performer.
And sorry, no, I mean the other thing I was going to say, I mean the whole journey in it being of its length that it is, it kind of gives people that space to invest, to be private, because quite often you may be trying to experience something amongst friends, peers, family, and you think, oh, well, I can't laugh at that, or I can't feel that. It gives you permission, license, to kind of to feel, to be moved, to kind of.
It's been set up.
Yeah.
You're kind of committed by going
That's
in.
what I mean.
And you're committed by being there. on the other end.
Yeah, and it's even hard. I think it's not even harder, but I think certainly, what do you feel about this? Because we're stuck there.
Yeah.
We're kind of at the epicenter of this person's expectation, and they've invested all this. You know, they are going to become private with us.
Yeah,
So
exactly. There is a responsibility, and there is a kind of channeling of this energy, and you've got all this expectation. And I kept on thinking, well, what happens if someone gets to the end? You go, oh, sorry, no, it's not. And actually, goes out. I thought that might happen. So when I get to the centre,
They backed off. Oh no,
I
this
go,
is for me.
This is your space.
Yes. So I mean, it's what's very good is that there are actual footprints to kind of invite you and a sort of welcome mat to kind of say, this is okay, this is where you belong, right there in the epicenter. I mean, it's amazing having the journey of the individuals, but also I felt for myself at the end of it, having done a few different people, I felt this kind of rebirth when I kind of came out myself, kind of coming out and having that time channeling different emotions. It was really, I felt really quite different coming out. Really,
when you actually came out of the installation yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you actually walked out the installation, having been in there for a certain amount of time, just coming out and being back in the real world again, actually took some adjustments.
Right.
To kind of feel almost like I was kind of checking things were real.
When we engage into that situation, is it the same kind of consent that happens? Is it the same kind of transformation, just on a different level, perhaps? I don't know. It's interesting because we make the commitment to go to the concert, we make the commitment to perform, we make the commitment to have that meeting.
Yes.
That meeting point.
I think the difference for me is that when you're in an opera, you're obviously in emotion, you're on an emotional journey, and it's very real. But you know the emotional journey that you're about to go on, and you know your notes, you know your rhythm, you know everything that the composer, the audience, the orchestra are expecting from you, and you believe it and you become the character. But with this, it's all, everything is up to you, and so there's, in a way it's more intense because it's more the emotion of the second of that particular moment, rather than on the emotional journey that you have as a character, an emotional journey that you've worked on and you've thought of the backstory of, and you think of how you're going to interact with other people. But this is very much a creation within the second, the millisecond, with that person, which is similar, but obviously we have no element of creation, of text and of melody. Yes, for us.
There's set narrative.
Yes, exactly.
In this context, isn't it?
I mean, with a recital, for example, where you aren't playing a character necessarily, but when you're making when you're kind of creating a program, you can't resist leading an audience down a certain path and say, I'm going to tearjerk here or here. So it's prescribed.
Yeah.
So actually, so actually doing something like this is it forces you to be in the now. It is just what is happening right then, right now, and I don't think you can. I suppose you strive for those moments, but
you do have them in every sense. When you're interacting in for me, a chamber situation, because musician actually is so the interaction is there between the people on stage, for sure. That kind of in the second, somebody might come in slightly differently, or give you a slightly different look or something as they engage with you. But the narrative, you've created this story still that you convey, that's set, that it's not spontaneous. Yeah. I know that there is a physical path. That's the only thing that remains set, really. The physicality remains set in here. Yes. And then the story plays out as it plays out, whoever's in there with whoever.
And also the temporal thing as well, because we try and be kind of kind to ourselves and to the not to go on for too long, but 1 minute
Yeah, it's surprising how much you can end up going.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the thing.
Yeah.
You have complete choice, and you can, because sometimes I'll be going on and I'll be thinking, or sometimes I'll feel, actually, look, this has naturally come to its end.
Yes.
It's nice.
Yes, that feels like a good finish, and that's
So in a way
it.
you're
And now I'm
proposing.
going to.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, can you imagine doing that in an
It
opera?
is.
Imagine doing an opera.
Actually, that's me finished with it.
No, I mean, and how's it been for you? I mean, having this installation in another physical space, and what was it? Did you have any decisions to make about where it physically was in the building?
Yeah, definitely. It's funny because I could have put this in this ancient church. I could have put this much nearer everyone as they came in the door. But again, I wanted it to be a kind of safe experience. I didn't want it, although it's quite a striking structure. It's tall. It looks a lot bigger in here than it did before, actually,
Right.
in the last exhibition. But I didn't want people to be knocked back by it. I wanted them to kind of be drawn in, hopefully. Sort of, oh, there's an opening. So I've got the opening at the side, so people come in and see the opening immediately, like, oh. So before, I think it was much more like this obelisk that you approached.
Yeah.
Like, what is that circular thing? And then you had to get around the other side to find the entrance. But this time, it felt much more natural to have it so that people would approach and go, there's a doorway in there. That's a person-sized doorway, you know.
So that's the
Enticing.
thing. But that's the thing. Can you imagine having like the doors of the opera house just left open for people to, oh, the door's open, want to come in. There's this. It's very prescribed. Tickets, the doors are going to be shutting now, 7:20. Take your seats then. There's so much prescription. Whereas with this, it's just like coming in. If
Are
you
you
feel
feeling
like
ready?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
are you ready? Yes, that's
Yeah.
a very interesting
Yeah.
thing. You know, you have to have a readiness and an openness about yourself to kind of take a journey into the unknown, which it physically and is. It's an unknown pathway, and there's none of that in opera.
Again, so even with the narrative that we have in opera or in any performance situation usually, you know what you're getting, you know how to behave when you get there, you know what's going to happen. You've invested in this prescribed thing, like going to a restaurant, you know you might have a starter, main course, dessert, whatever, you've got the rules, go in, right, this is what I like, this is on my terms. But it's even more on your terms in a way when you get drawn to this little space. Do I want to go in there? I think I'll give it a go. Have a look. And then you've made the commitment, but it's into the unknown, like you say, completely into the unknown.
And is it something that you'd want to kind of, sorry, I'm interviewing you now.
That's
Is it something
fine.
I've always wondered whether it's something that you would want to kind of add another one or two.
It would be interesting to see. I did measure this up a lot in the early stages with paper and plastic and things, different materials, to see what would happen if it was a certain material or whatever. And this became, at the time at least, the ideal length.
Right.
Sort of, to be going in and then be like, am I there? I think I'm there. I think I'm there. No, I'm not there. Happens a number of times. Am I there? No, I'm not there. Oh, I'm here. So you're definitely prepared. I wonder what it would be like if it was longer.
Because you might get some people who never made it.
Yes.
Actually.
Yes.
It could happen. They might go, oh.
What is this?
Because it's one of those things, like if you don't act on something straight away within the first whatever it is or 2 minutes, like, oh, I must ring my mother. If you don't pick up the phone and ring it then, you'll never do it. So it's like the longer they're taking to get to the middle, they might have more time to think about, this isn't kind of for me.
I wouldn't want to make people impatient either.
Right.
Where is this centre?
Yes.
But I don't know if you would just repeat the same feeling of kind of, am I there yet? That searching sensation. You're
Yes.
searching for an endpoint. Yeah, we're always searching for endpoints. Always going to places, everything's like, there's the destination. Finding your destination, I just wonder, I don't know. It'd be interesting to experiment with having it longer, and see what people's reactions were.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some people think it. I remember my friend went in its very first early days, and she thought it was just a circle.
Right.
And she was like, "Oh, I'm just walking in a circle. This is interesting." And then she hit upon you, and it came. Oh, hello. This is definitely not a circle.
Great.
Great.
So you had no idea?
I had no idea that there was actually somebody in there. I thought it was recorded. And also the space inside is so much bigger than you think. You seem to be walking around for ages, just in a very small circle.
How did it feel to be that close to somebody?
I suppose it's slightly uncomfortable, but it's a brand new experience.
Interesting. How did you feel when you came out into the daylight?
Back to reality from another world.
You glide between the heart and its casting as tears glide from the eyelid. You dwell in my inwardness, in the depths of my heart, as souls dwell in bodies.
That's lovely. Oh my word. Priceless. Priceless. Before you tell me anything, I'm not going to say anything.
Right is the ring of words when the right man rings them. Fair the fall of songs when the singer sings them. Sometimes when I look into the flowers, I think I hear a voice between the petals, a human voice.